Growing up in the early 2000s was a pretty sweet thing if you were to ask me. Technology was advancing so much that we had things like the iPod that were all the rave, toys that were advancing just as much with commercials that made you feel like such a loser if you didn't have them. But most importantly, the console wars were at an all-time high. You had Xbox fanboys versus Sony ponies arguing about console exclusives and graphics and online multiplayer and controller sizes and vibration patterns that honestly, in the end, none of this seemed to really matter in the grand scheme of things. Xbox and Sony were putting out such high quality stuff for hardcore gamers that they weren't even really looking behind them in third place where Nintendo was at. In retrospect, it seemed like it was best for Nintendo to drop out of this so-called console war, as everything they were doing up until this point seemed like it was so backwards and kind of like a middle finger to the man sort of way, but in the end they kind of just ended up losing all of their hardcore gamers that grew up with them throughout the 90s. Losing their older audience meant that Nintendo would now have to prey on a much different age group. The everybody age group. It's well known by now that a huge part in Nintendo's success with the Wii had to deal with them not marketing towards the hardcore gamers that would stay up till like 2 in the morning, you know, slamming monsters, playing Halo and stuff. The Wii was meant for everybody. It was meant for families. It was meant for parents. It was meant for grandparents, your siblings. It was meant for you. It was meant for me. It was meant for we. I don't think I've ever really gone into deep conversation about my childhood and just how important the Wii was to me. While my brother was up late at night playing Modern Warfare 2 on his Xbox 360, I was in my room alone playing things like Epic Mickey and Shaun White's skateboarding and one of my favorites, Wii Sports Resort, which we'll get to later. I wish I was able to show my childhood Christmas photos with my Wii, but sadly, this is the only one that I can show, and it's the thumbnail of the photo channel. I have no idea how to get this thing off of it and onto an SD card. It hurts, man, it hurts. You'll just have to take my word for it. I got the Wii as a Christmas gift from my parents about a few years after the console was released. Although I got the console a few years into its lifespan already, it was still pretty new to me. A console with motion controls built into the remote was insane to me as a child, whereas an older motion control game that I remember me and my brother playing was the iToy, which was very janky. It felt like the Wii was doing something right. Playing Wii Sports felt like something monumental at the time. Holding this controller had such a different feeling to it. The graphics were so simple, yet the game was so much fun. Wii Sports was just my entry into the Wii's amazing library. There literally were all sorts of games released for this console, including platformers, shooters, racing games, party games. In hindsight, this kind of was like a double-edged sword, since a lot of these games, and I mean a lot of these games released for the Wii, were kind of shovelware. I'll talk about my favorite games as a kid later, but I wanted to look at what made the Wii so special to me at the time. Because the Wii was technically my Christmas gift, this means I didn't have to share with my brother, so it made it like 10 times better. As I mentioned before, using motion controls built into the Wiimote felt... The nunchuck was just as special as well. The fact that you could plug in so many different accessories into the bottom of this remote was mind-blowing at the time. Although turning on the Wii and being greeted with a caution screen probably wasn't the best way to greet children into your new family home video game console, which, to tell you the truth, this was kind of reminiscent of that old PS2 disc error screen, if you remember. It would turn red, and it was very scary. It gave me nightmares as a kid. Getting past all that and into this wondrous home menu screen that the Wii had felt way too advanced for my small child brain. Where the GameCube followed the older console logic of just throwing you into whatever game you had loaded into the console, the opportunity to add so many different apps or channels to this home menu was absolutely astonishing. The default Wii menu came with 6 preloaded channels as soon as you started up the console. The game channel, where whatever game in the disc tray was read. The Me channel, which was the birth of Mii's. The photo channel, where you could load your SD card and view or play around with whatever photos you had stored on it. The Wii Shop channel, the online eShop you could buy all sorts of games from. The Forecast channel, which could tell you information about the weather worldwide or locally. And lastly, the News channel, where you could read up on news worldwide, from sports to politics to just about anything. I think the basis of including all these channels on the startup of the Wii had a much deeper meaning to it. I could be wrong, but I feel like at the time, if you were to start up your Xbox 360 or your PS3, you would only really get news pertaining to those consoles. I don't remember much. My brother kind of didn't really let me play online with his Xbox 360, but I think that's the case. Having all these apps pop up on what was to be a family system just made sense. The Game and Me channel felt like it was for the kids. Add the photo channel and the Wii Shop channel, and all of these are for adults. Throw in the forecast and the news channel, and grandma and grandpa would get excited to just use the Wii for, this sort of thing. Some of my fondest memories from exploring these different channels are spread out throughout my entire time with the Wii. I remember making Miis of all my family members, neighborhood friends, and even copying the celebrity Miis I'd see on YouTube. I remember constantly searching the Wii Shop channel and begging my mom for Wii Shop point cards. Remember those things? You had to buy points first in order to, redeem them for games. You couldn't just put the credit card on and just directly pay for a game. No, that was silly at the time. I vividly remember having a birthday budget one year and searching all over eBay through the Wii's downloadable internet channel for some random Mario plushies. One in particular being the Super Mario Party 5 Bowser plush, which I feel like was $20 at the time. Compare that to today's price, and my mom should have just let me get it as a kid. It was little things like this I remember about my Wii that play so much into my nostalgia that I have with this console. The best thing that I have about these memories is that they're not even about games that I played. They're literally just things that were included on the system. The few times my mom felt generous enough to give me some Wii Shop channel points, I remember searching for hours on that eShop because it was very rare that my mother wanted to give me Wii Shop money. This seems to be a running theme I always talk about because whenever I would get these virtual points, whether it would be for the Wii or the DSi or even the 3DS, I would always try to find the highest rated games that were also the cheapest. Because I had to make my points stretch. I had only ever bought a few virtual console games and like one Wii exclusive title. The first game I bought was none other than Super Mario Bros. For the NES. I always had like a weird obsession with the older Mario titles for like the NES and the Super Nintendo. And at the time I had like no idea about emulation on the computer and stuff. So it was a must have. I had to have it. Did I ever beat this game? No, I did not, as well as these other games that I had bought from the Wii Shop channel. Going back through my play history, the first night I got my Wii, I played for roughly 4 hours. I don't think these other 2 hours count. These games included Super Smash Bros. Brawl, The Incredible Hulk, and the best one yet, Disney Sing It. Of these 3 games, I can tell you I only really remember one. Can you guess which one that is? Okay, honestly, I don't know why Wii Sports Resort isn't included on this. That was like the first game everyone got with the Wii. I don't know why it's not on my play history. I'm pretty sure I played the game. I formatted my entire system because I didn't know what formatting the system meant. So maybe I got rid of I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to go in and talk about how life-changing Wii Sports was to me because it wasn't. Wii Sports Resort, on the other hand, now this is my game. For now, I want to talk about the games that I do have memories with, even if they are small, because if I don't document them now on video, who's to say I'll remember them in 10 years when I'm old and working a 9-to-5, not doing YouTube videos, even though I don't even really make money off of this stuff and I'm just doing it for fun right now. And I think it'd be interesting to do a deep dive on some of these games I played as a kid. So if you'd be interested in any of that, let me know in the comments and subscribe. You're not subscribed yet? What? That's crazy. Wii. Starting off strong, one game that I remember in particular getting and not really liking that much as I couldn't really get into it was the Spyro Skylanders little debut game that they came out with. Seeing the Toys to Life thing on TV got me so hyped for the game, but once my parents actually got it for me one day, I kind of just played it for a little bit and moved on. I know there's a ton of people till this day that still reminisce about this franchise and still talk about it. One of my buddies, Lions, apparently is like a huge Skylanders fan. But to me, not happening. A series of games that I do remember falling in love with and kind of wanting to jump back into it as an adult was the My Sims series. If you don't know anything about this series, in short, it was a spin-off of the Sims series of games, but this time it was more so as you, the player, being thrown into different sorts of situations and environments where you'd have to solve problems for whatever location you visited. And not all of these games were the same. There was a lot of these games that came out for the Wii. For instance, there was My Sims, there was My Sims Kingdom, My Sims Agents, My Sims Racing, My Sims Party, and My Sims Sky Heroes. The one I remember playing the most was My Sims Kingdom. I remember spending literal hours on this game, customizing places and my character and restarting the game. To say the least, this game was one of my guilty pleasures growing up. So much so that I rebought the game in 2019 because I thought I lost my original copy. I loved this game. And some other minor memories I had with a few other games have to include 007 Quantum of Solace, where I kind of remember playing this game on the weekend and looking up at my TV, almost breaking my neck, holding the Wii Zapper because you kind of had to like hold the guns like that. The thing I can tell you I remember the most about this game is that the graphics were awful. I remember looking at my brother's Xbox 360 gameplay and how come my Wii doesn't look like that? And speaking of the Wii Zapper, if you remember that, it came with Link's crossbow training. I remember playing that game, beating it in a couple hours, and wondering if that was really the end of the game because it was such a short freaking... It didn't even feel like a real game. It felt like mini games, honestly. One time, I remember going to the store with my grandmother and begging her to buy me Pikmin for the Wii. Oh my goodness, it's Pikmin. Only for me not to play this game. I just didn't understand it at the time. And now that I've played all 4 games back to back, this is probably one of my favorite series of all times. I love this game so much. I love all the games, actually. I love Pikmin in general. They're so cute. They're so awesome. Before I move on to the biggest games of my Wii childhood, there's a few more games that I seem to have had a lot of time sunken into, but I really don't remember at all. As much as I seem to tell my community that I never really played Sonic games as a kid, apparently Sonic Unleashed had a lot of playtime when I was looking through my play history on the Wii. I remember even talking to a friend at school one time, telling him about how I didn't like the controls of the game or just everything felt so janky. And mind you, I was never really a Sonic kid growing up, so maybe I just shouldn't have played with the motion controls on. I don't know, once again, my playtime says otherwise, so I have no idea where that came from. One game that people always tie to the Wii is, of course, none other than Super Mario Galaxy. I remember playing this game a little bit, but I more so remember my brother playing it and me just watching him. You know, it's crazy that the Wii was my Christmas gift, but my brother still so happened to make his way into my room and just play it late at night. How does that work? I don't understand that. Guitar Hero's Warriors of Rock, this needs no explanation as I'm like practically a freaking Guitar Hero god. Yeah, I'm pretty good at the game, so... Now, the 2 biggest games that I feel like everyone can remember from the Wii era of gaming is, of course, none other than Wii Sports Resort and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. From a competitive standpoint, I know a lot of Smash players absolutely despise Brawl due to the tripping mechanic, which makes sense for a game where you need your character to be snappy at all times, but from a casual gamer standpoint, the Subspace Emissary, literal peak story from Nintendo. I don't remember much from it as I was still a young boy, but man, do I remember staying up so many nights with my brother, playing throughout the story, seeing different characters within these high quality cutscenes that it just added so much greatness to the overall plot. Seeing characters being turned into the little amiibo, they're amiibos, oh my god, and then being saved, and the villains and the antagonists and the protagonists, and man, think about all of it, it just gets me so hyped. It's such a good story. I literally do not think Nintendo can make anything that can compare to the Subspace Emissary story because it was literally just so good at the time. Now time for my baby, Wii Sports Resort. If you thought the original Wii Sports was great, you better put a belt on because your pants are about to explode, because I love this game way more than I should. Granted, I do like some sports in this game a little more than others, but I remember spending so much time on this game, playing through all the sports, trying to get all the stamps, trying to unlock secrets. I feel like if Nintendo was to release this game now with a bunch of updates and online multiplayer, it would have been galaxies ahead of Switch Sports. To be honest with you, I never bought Switch Sports, but I don't hear anybody talking about it anymore, so it's... well, playing Wii Sports Resort always felt like a literal vacation. Exploring every little nook and cranny of Woohoo Island is for sure one memory I know that I will always have attached to my Wii. 20 years later, the Wii is literally still so alive. The amount of people that dedicate so much time into keeping this console alive is absolutely amazing. There's a number of emulators you can install straight onto the Wii that allows you to play all sorts of retro consoles. There's communities that keep a lot of these channels still alive and running, such as the Forecast and the News channel from the default startup. There's the Mario Kart community that continues to update CTGP Revolution for kart lovers that just can't get away from the Wii. And you know what, man? As a kid, I would have never thought that one of my favorite consoles growing up would still continue to grow with me all these years later as a grown man. Although as I got older, I got more into Xbox 360 and Call of Duty and all that jazz and all that junk. I've always had a soft spot for Nintendo and all their consoles just deep in my heart. Deep down, I've always had this love for their ability to just kind of take me out of this such frustrating world and into whatever environment they've chosen to create for whatever game. And you know, I love Nintendo, man. And the Wii's right there on top. Subscribe. Hopefully you guys like this style of video. I'll be back for more. Bye.